Explore the unique habits and favorite foods of historical icons, the quirks and culinary tastes of famous leaders, writers, and inventors reveal insights into their lives. Join us in delving into the interests of celebrated figures from history. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, led the country through the Civil War and abolished slavery. His favorite foods included apples and cornbread. He had the curious habit of keeping important documents inside his tall hat for safekeeping. He was known for his storytelling and humor, often amusing guests. While presenting a serious front, he loved to prank close friends and family. Lincoln also admired Shakespeare, often reciting lines from memory. Mark Twain, the renowned author of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, enjoyed Southern dishes like cornbread and fried chicken. He was known for always wearing an all-white suit regardless of the season. Twain was also an insomniac and often wrote through the night. He had a fondness for cigars and smoked as many as 40 a day. Twain was known for his wit and often gave humorous, exaggerated accounts of his own life experiences.
Thomas Alva Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, phonograph, and motion picture camera, favored apple dumplings. He had a peculiar habit of taking thinking naps while holding steel balls. When they dropped, the noise would wake him up, supposedly sparking new ideas.
Edison worked incredibly long hours, sometimes sleeping only a few hours a night. He was also known for his dislike of formal education, believing that practical experience was far more valuable than classroom learning. Frederick Douglass, an escaped slave who became a leading abolitionist, writer, and orator, had a preference for oysters. He had a deep love for photography, believing that everyone should have a dignified portrait. Douglass was also a passionate debater and frequently engaged in public discussions on social justice. He was one of the most photographed men of his time, believing that photography was a tool to counter racist portrayals of African Americans. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, which exposed the horrors of slavery, enjoyed baked beans and brown bread. She once claimed that the ghost of Abraham Lincoln visited her. Stowe was deeply religious and believed her novel was divinely inspired. She was also an advocate for women's rights and actively worked on education initiatives. Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, was known for his aggressive policies and many duels. He had a particular fondness for cheese and once received a 1,400-pound cheese wheel. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a key transcendentalist philosopher who explored the links between humanity and nature. He promoted vegetarianism, viewing it as a more ethical way to live. Emerson also deeply respected nature, especially trees. He was known for taking long walks in nature to gain inspiration. He was also a mentor to Henry David Thoreau, encouraging him to pursue writing. Emerson had a unique habit of keeping extensive journals filled with his philosophical musings. Emily Dickinson, a reclusive poet known for her unique style, favored gingerbread and coconut cake. She rarely left her house and sometimes communicated by lowering baskets of food from her window. She wore only white clothing and often wrote letters instead of engaging in direct conversation. Dickinson kept an extensive collection of pressed flowers and had a deep love for gardening. John D. Rockefeller, the founder of Standard Oil and America's first billionaire, preferred simple meals like crackers and milk. He had the peculiar habit of giving out dimes to strangers and expecting them to invest wisely. Rockefeller was highly disciplined and maintained a strict schedule, even during retirement. He was profoundly religious and donated much of his fortune to philanthropic causes. Clara Barton, the founder of the American Red Cross, favored simple soups and broths. She meticulously kept detailed diaries of every person she met and how she helped them. Barton was a fearless battlefield nurse and often worked under fire. She was also one of the first women to work for the federal government, helping distribute supplies during the Civil War. Buffalo Bill Cody, a showman and frontiersman known for his Wild West shows, enjoyed bison meat. He often wore elaborate cowboy outfits with sequins and silver buttons, even when unnecessary. Louisa May Alcott, the author of Little Women, had a fondness for apples. To get her early works published, she used a masculine pen name, A.M. Barnard. She also worked as a nurse during the Civil War and wrote detailed letters about her experiences. She was an advocate for women's rights and fought for gender equality in literature. She also worked as a nurse during the Civil War and wrote detailed letters about her experiences. She was an advocate for women's rights and fought for gender equality in literature.
Brigham Young, the leader of the Mormon migration to Utah, preferred homemade bread and dried meats. He maintained an extremely strict household structure and had 55 wives. He played a key role in establishing Salt Lake City and promoted self-sufficiency among his followers.
Robert E. Lee, a Confederate general during the Civil War, favored cornbread and sweet potatoes. He kept pet chickens and refused to eat eggs unless he knew they were not from his own hen's dot. Despite his military background, he was a devoted family man and deeply valued education.
History is filled with remarkable figures, not only for their accomplishments, but also for their eccentricities and personal tastes. These habits and favorite foods show us how people change the world. If you enjoyed learning about these fascinating personalities, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more intriguing historical content.